Hey, Superior Shave fans and other humans, how you doing today? 19 of March 2024. This is another one for all those little haters on the Badger and Blade and the Shave Den, whatever. Those flat earthers, as we call them, the people afraid of concave razor bevels. Bob from Tullahoma, Tennessee writes, "Hi, Jared. He bought one of these concave razors. This is a hone shaping plate, and it's the source of all the fear from the little flat earthers with their tiny little mental penises." Robert says, "Hi, just wanted to let you know I am duly impressed. Hard labor is a gentle way of putting how much work goes into the shaping process." Yes, I'm assuming he must have shaped an Arkansas stone. So this little one that's for sale on the website from Dan's, this is a 2x6 plane, and I used a diamond surfacing plate. And just to make that small shape, 25 foot this way, 6.5 foot that way, you can barely see that it's flat in the video here. I mean, you can barely see that it's convex. It's a little bit easier to tell when you can look at it like that. But just to get that shape with diamond sheets, it took my undivided attention for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it's a miserable task. Aside from that, I worked on two razors. A double duck that I was never impressed with. Interesting fact, double ducks were made by Dovo, by the way. And a Le Coultre that I had asked you about. I think he emailed me previously about a French razor that the company is known for frame backs, but it's just a regular old-fashioned razor. It was the first time the double duck gave a nice shave. I think I need to work on my technique with the newly shaped stones. The Le Coultre started singing for the first time, and wow, what a shave. So he concaved the razor bevels, and the razor made a different sound on the hone or the strop. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, I'm sure it's nothing then, right? A quick question. I have several 7/8s and a 14er. I think you might be referring to the new beautiful Boker razor. You recommend the convex stones for 5/8 and 6/8 blades. Any suggestion for the larger blades? Next weekend I'll start on my black arc. Thanks for all the help and advice. I guess that means you didn't shape a black arc yet, so whatever else you shaped that you thought the hard labor is a gentle way of putting how much work goes into the shaping process. Gird your loins. I do heartily recommend you stick to a 6-inch maximum length Arkansas and go ahead and buy that Z-Lion thing from Amazon, the flexible diamond sheets. They make a huge difference. Okay, as to the question. What I have found, first let me go ahead and give you a way to buy something from me that is a good pimping for this. This is a convex caudicle. It's shaped with alignment to this long facet here. This is what they call a boo, which just means it's a polygon. And it's shaped 6.5 foot diameter that way, 25 foot diameter this way. But what's unique about these little polygon ones is we have this axis here, which is, I don't know, 50 degrees or something relative to the 6.5 foot axis. So if you were to hone with your razor's back in alignment with this line, you have a nice long piece of area to address. And what happens is you are getting, in effect, a different diameter, not a diameter of 25 feet, which is this one, and not a diameter that's 6.5 feet, which is this one. So if we went like this on this blade, we're using the stone with a 6.5 foot diameter, which means that it's the shortest possible imaginary wheel inside of this stone shape, and also the largest contact patch, because the secondary diameter of the ellipse at that point is 25 feet. So when you use it in this direction on this particular stone, you get the most concaving of the bevel. That's where you'd be putting pretty deep concavities into the shoulders of your bevel away from the cutting edge. And your contact patch, the little area of steel that's touching the rock during the strokes, will be wider left to right across the cutting edge because the secondary diameter is 25 feet. Now if we use it this way, okay, now we've made the primary diameter 25 feet and the secondary diameter 6.5 feet. So your contact patch gets really skinny, and then the area that you're touching on the bevel goes to the front of the bevel because it's 25 feet. But over here, this would be a different number because it's not square to the 6.5 foot or the 25 foot. So I don't know what this would be, 15 feet or something like that, whatever it is. But when you get these polygon-shaped pieces, that's not to say that an expert couldn't take a 3x8 piece. You know, it's the same ellipse each time. If they could somehow go like this and get their hands not to bonk into the stone or whatever, then they would get the same effect. But it sure is a lot easier when there's a missing part of the stone. You know, in a perfect world, I would want a polygon that had one side that had a 30-degree angle to the long axis and the other side with like a 60-degree angle, and then you have you know, the primary axis too. That way you could have three shapes that were on the fly, different diameters, but that's what you can do. What I've found over doing this for some years now is that 4/8 and 3/8 razors, when you measure them for the basic geometry of the razor, they tend to have a cutting angle that's a little bit thicker. And 7/8 razors and larger, they tend to be to the lower end. In fact, if you could find Swedish razors that are from between the world wars and bigger than 6/8, those are almost always notably less than 15 degrees, usually like 13 degrees, which is why they tend to chip a lot. But when the angle is so low on the razor, the 6.5 foot wheel can get behind the bevel and it can carve into the concave region of your razor, which it doesn't really hurt anything, but you might not want to look at it. So what I would suggest is you can use like an oil stone. I'm never going to sell this, but this is a Norton Washita that's 6.5 foot that way. And because I use it with oil, it doesn't have a slurry like a water stone or a caudicle. And so if that 6.5 foot diameter is truly only going to interact with the bevel, it doesn't leave marks behind the bevel. When you've got slurry involved, like with a water stone or a caudicle, invariably there's some stuff floating around that has steel cutting stuff inside of it, and they will tend to carve into the bevel. So you could try using it with an oil stone, or you could just try a few strokes with the water stone and see what it looks like. You know, you can always use a little bit of tape on the spine for that early part. You could put some thin tape on the spine to raise the 7/8 razor and get its bevel shoulder away from where the slurry is, and you could cut in a bevel. At that point being, as you have the razor above the wheel, I would cut in that 6.5 foot bevel. I'd probably go all the way to the edge if I had some tape on the spine. But by putting tape on the spine, you can cut in the concavity to the backside and then take the tape off later to set the actual tip of the razor with your 25 foot shape, or you could use a flat shape at the end if you want. You know, it's not critical to use the concave shape all the way through. I do get my best shaves from that, but it's difficult to do. And so most people are going to be better off learning with a flat thing at the tip and just using concavity early. But generally speaking, large razors have narrower cutting angles, shorter razors have wider cutting angles. Shorter razors, the 6.5 foot wheel is not short enough. You tend to cut into the bevel not as back to the shoulder as you'd want. And on the 7/8 razors, it's too far back. You would want a longer diameter, and that's where using a on-the-fly diameter like this, which I don't know what it would be, I don't know the geometry of it, but if we could have imaginary wheels of all different shapes and start with one that was 10 foot diameter, let's say, I'm sure that would be fine for the 7/8 razors. But that's how you can do it. You can vary where you're moving on the ellipse, and you will change the effective diameter by when you're moving down the 6.5 foot axis, that's the shortest diameter and the most concavity to the rear of the bevel. And when you're moving 90 degrees to that, that's the longest diameter and going to the front of the razor. Okay? Well, I hope that was confusing and helpful. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.